Hello, you're watching Shalom World News. I'm Dana Villa from Chicago, USA. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. Pope Francis hosted a group of legal professionals from the Vienna Declaration signatory nations who are members of the Council of Europe on Monday, August 21. The Pope expressed gratitude to the lawyers for their important contribution to the promotion of democracy, respect for freedom, and human dignity in the current problematic European context influenced by the senseless war in the Ukrainian territory. The Holy Father also commended people for their efforts to preserve the earth, as well as their willingness to work for the development of a normative framework aimed at protecting the environment. He also said that he is working on the second part of his encyclical Laudato Si for updates to address current issues. A United Nations Children's Fund representative has released a statement that says rising insecurity in West Africa's Niger continues to pose a growing danger to millions of vulnerable children. Stefano Savi of UNICEF said severe malnutrition among children is extremely high. He also said that the recent coup d'etat in Niger adds a heavy burden to an already disastrous humanitarian landscape. Over 2 million children are desperate and need of humanitarian assistance, with at least 430,000 suffering from the deadliest form of malnutrition. The situation is expected to take a turn for the worse if the nation falls into an economic recession accompanied by a surge in food prices. More than 1,000 American school districts have come out with policies that allow personnel to refrain from disclosing information to parents regarding their child's desire to identify as non-binary. This was revealed by the advocacy group Parents Defending Education. The report prepared by the group states that at least 1,040 districts comprising 18,335 schools have transgender, gender non-conforming policies that instruct staff to keep a student's gender identity under wraps. A Trevor Project study in 2021 revealed the idea that a person's chosen gender identity should take precedence over biological sex is gaining acceptance. To tackle the situation, several Republican-dominated states have already passed laws that protect children from being subjected to body-harming, gender-changing surgeries such as orchiectomy or castration for boys and elective mastectomy or hysterectomy for girls. The Archdiocese of Karachi in Pakistan denounced the recent attacks on Christian houses and churches by irate Muslim mobs. The Metropolitan of Port City, Archbishop Benny Travas, said the Christian community has once again faced open hatred and uncontrollable anger. In a statement, he said the alleged desecration of the Quran, which sparked violent acts against the entire Christian community of Jaranwala in Faisalabad, needs to be investigated. The prelate said previous incidents have shown that there are other motives behind these wild accusations. He concluded the statement by urging the Pakistani administration to show solidarity with the Christian community in this hour of pain by taking resolute action against culprits. Angry mobs laid waste to churches and homes of Christians and desecrated the Bible in Jaranwala. Meanwhile, Pakistan authorities have agreed to compensate nearly 100 Christians whose homes were destroyed. They will be compensated to a tune of 2 million rupees. Ahead of Mahsa Amini's first death anniversary on September 16, Iran's law enforcement forces detained 13 people from the Gilan province on suspicion of activities against national security. According to Voice of America, several allegations of civil and labor activists being jailed alongside family members of those who had been arrested or killed during last year's rallies have surfaced ahead of Amini's death anniversary. The detainees have been charged with conspiracy and cooperation in committing acts against national security, along with involvement in propagandistic endeavors against the system in favor of opposition factions. It was in September last year that young Masa Amini died in police custody following torture after she was detained for not properly wearing the hijab. The head of the United Nations stated on Tuesday that spreading hatred online is frequently a catalyst for deadly physical attacks against religious minorities. Antonio Guterres urged governments, community leaders, and religious figures to speak out against hate and incitement to violence. The UN Secretary General reiterated that freedom of belief is inalienable human right. He made this assertion on the International Day honoring victims of acts of violence based on religion or belief. Guterres further stated that throughout the world, individuals and groups, particularly minorities, experience intolerance, discrimination, threats to their places of worship, means of subsistence, and even lives. In a briefing to the United Nations Security Council on Monday, August 21, UN Middle East envoy Tor Wennesland stated that more than 200 Palestinians and over 30 Israelis have died so far this year in violent protests and military operations. The envoy said this year's count surpasses the death toll from the previous year. It reflects concerning trends observed recently across the occupied Palestinian territory and constitutes the greatest number of deaths since 2005. On an almost daily basis, both Israelis and Palestinians are injured or killed, according to the envoy. He added that violence is worsened by a mounting sense of hopelessness about the future. Once again, the trial of detained media mogul and pro-democracy supporter Jimmy Lai has been postponed by a Hong Kong court. Lai is under detention after being charged with colluding with elements to undermine the security of the city. A three-judge panel delayed his trial until December 18. It is the second time since the date was set for December. Lai was first arrested in August 2020 under the draconian national security law and is serving time for fraud in connection with the lease of his next digital media establishment's headquarters. Under the national security law, Lai is also charged with conspiracy to collude with foreign forces. In a separate incident, police interrogated a woman who is allegedly connected to one of the 8 activists in exile with arrest warrants and bounties on their heads. This was revealed by London-based Hong Kong Watch. The Chinese Communist government is attempting to subvert the Christian faith by altering certain parts of the Holy Bible, says the chairman of House Select Committee of the Chinese Communist Party. Representative Mike Gallagher of the Wisconsin state here in the U.S. said in a message to the biannual Parliament of the World's Religions in Chicago that the Chinese Communist Party was rewriting the Bible. Gallagher made his point clear by citing 2 rewritten parts of the Bible. In one example, he pointed out the misinterpretation of the account in John's Gospel in which Christ says, "Let he among you without sin cast the first stone," when a woman is accused of adultery. He alleged that the rewritten passage ends with Jesus stoning the adulterous woman to death. The Republican representative also cited how local communist officials in Henan province of China are forcing churches to replace the 10 Commandments with quotes from President Xi Jinping. The UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights defenders is asking the Indian authorities to release an activist who has been imprisoned since 2017, citing grave concern over his deteriorating health. Activist and former professor at Delhi University, N. Sai Baba, was arrested in 2014 after being accused of extremist leftist Maoist groups. 3 years later, he was sentenced to life imprisonment under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. UN Special Rapporteur Mary Lawler said his continued detention is shameful and it bears all the hallmarks of a state seeking to silence a critical voice. She said that the activist has been a longtime champion of the rights of minorities, including the downtrodden Dalits and tribal people in India. Human rights activists have repeatedly raised the alarm over the failing health of Sai Baba, who suffers from a spinal disorder and polio and uses a wheelchair. Lawler said that Sai Baba is detained in an 8x10 oval cell with no windows, which gets extremely hot during the summer. Two prominent Nigerian Catholic prelates have been given a place among the 100 most notable peace icons in Africa. Cardinal John Onayekan and Bishop Matthew Hassan Kuka have been included in the peace-building roll call that also includes other religious leaders, heads of states, envoys, and artists, among others. Both the Cardinal and the Bishop of Sokoto have been vocal about injustices, insecurity, and other burning issues that are plaguing the West African nation. Earlier this month, Cardinal Onayekan appealed to the election tribunals working on the February-March poll petitions to expedite their assignments. On August 8th, Bishop Kuka urged all citizens to join hands to fight the plague of insecurity. According to the project director of the 100 Most Notable Peace Icons, Kingsley Amafibe, the initiative stands as a testament to their commitment to acknowledging and honoring the remarkable individuals who have already played key roles in fostering peace and positive change on the continent. Officials here in the U.S. confirmed that more than 1,000 people are still unaccounted for in the raging wildfires in Maui, Hawaii. Local officials recently revealed that 114 people lost their lives in the devastating blaze, with hundreds more gone missing. On Sunday, August 20, Hawaii Governor Josh Green said that at least 1,000 people were missing in Maui as search and rescue operations are still ongoing. The governor said that it will take several weeks to overcome the challenges posed by the wildfires. He also added that the search and rescue teams might not be able to recover the remains of some of those who perished due to the soaring temperature of the blaze. The governor also did not dismiss the possibility of several children missing in the wildfires. The catastrophe has swallowed thousands of acres and devastated hundreds of buildings on the island. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us tomorrow. In the meantime, you can visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.